I'm going to be talking on breast cancer and its newer advances. First of all, what is breast cancer? Breast cancer is abnormal growth in the breast, which could be of various types. What are the types of breast cancers? Basically, you have to understand there is something called a terminal duct lobular unit, which is the lobule part of the gland, and there are ducts which take it to the nipple. If that cancer develops in the duct, it is called infiltrating duct cancer. If it develops in the lobule, it is called infiltrating lobular cancer. In this also there are several different types which are subtypes which can be later classified. What is the difference between a benign breast lump and a malignant breast lump? So something like a fibroadenoma or a fibroadenosis is classified as a benign breast lump. What do you mean by benign? These are lumps in the breast which occur in a lot of women, but which do not spread, which do not metastasize, do not go anywhere else, and need not always be removed. But breast cancer is something which definitely needs to be treated aggressively. Even in breast cancer, you have something called intraduct and infiltrating duct. If it is intraduct, obviously the damage and the limitation is less, as well as compared to an infiltrating duct where the surgery is a little more extensive. So in India, what is the incidence? We see more than 50% of women coming to us initially when I was studying cancer. More than 50% used to come in stage 3 and stage 4. Today the ratio has reversed. We are seeing a lot of early cases, a lot of patients coming with early cancers, and the late detection of disease is now a thing of the past. In India also we see nearly 1 lakh new cases every year coming and getting diagnosed all over the country, and this is more in urban areas as compared to rural areas. If you see the percentage, if you see what is the activity between rural and urban, about 1 in 28 women would get breast cancer, and it becomes 1 in 22 in urban areas and 1 in 34 approximately in rural areas. So that is what are the figures for breast cancer. Breast cancer incidence across the world have risen globally because we have changes in reproductive pattern, increased screening, dietary changes, and decreased activity levels in women leading to obesity, and I will talk about this in the future. So as I said, in India we have a unique type of thing that we see patients a decade earlier, and now, as I said, that they are coming with earlier levels of or earlier stages of breast cancer. So the stages of breast cancer are early breast cancer, locally advanced breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer. So we are seeing now a lot of patients coming in early breast cancer. But in younger patients, the cancer is little more aggressive. Whenever we talk about any cancer or any disease, we first find out what are the causes of it, because that's the most common question asked. So we have to identify the causes. The causes are basically estrogen, and when we talk about estrogen as a hormone, we have something which is called an endogenous estrogen, that is something which is produced by the body, and is exogenous, that is coming from outside as a form of tablets or some sort of a therapy. So what comes through the body is something which you cannot change. So what increases estrogen levels in a lady, which can cause increased rise of breast cancer, is the level and duration of exposure to estrogen. So somebody who's got early menarche, the periods have started early, have ended early, somebody who's never married, somebody who has late children or never had children, these are the women who are more susceptible to breast cancer. In postmenopausal, that is women whose periods have stopped, these are the patients because postmenopausal, their obesity and hormone replacement therapy are known as the causes again which are which can cause breast cancer increase. So what are exogenous causes? That means which are causes which come from outside. One is commonly, as I said, oral contraceptives. 2 is hormone replacement therapy. Now hormone replacement therapy in the initial phases was a little different. Today it is quite different, and the rates of incidences have reduced with a new type of combination. But still, if somebody is susceptible with a high risk factor, one should always avoid hormone replacement therapy. So then what are the protective factors? The protective factors are late menarche, that means the periods have come late or go early. Anovulation, somebody who does not ovulate or does not get her periods. and lowering of estrogen levels by various means can obviously cause protective factors. So, when we talk about breast cancer per se, we have to understand a very important thing, that lot of our patients are postmenopausal, that they come in 40 to 55 age group. Also, the second important thing to note is, people always ask us this question is, how much of benign breast cancer or benign breast disease, which I talked about earlier, is pre-malignant? That does benign breast cancer translate or become breast cancer in the future? So apart from one typical breast cancer specialty, benign breast disease, which is a typical ductal hyperplasia with atypia, otherwise the rest of them do not become malignant. So if you have somebody like a fibroadenoma or a fibroadenosis or a cyst in the breast, this will not turn malignant, so you don't have to worry about it. There is a linear relationship with alcohol, because alcohol increases obesity, hence it also increases the level of estrogen in the body. So obesity, increased alcohol, lack of exercise are also factors which can promote this disease. How much does family history contribute to breast cancer? Yes, it does contribute much more than the other cancers. If you have a first degree relative, the risk is 5 times greater in women with 2 or more first degree relatives. But a family history of ovarian cancer in a first degree relatives is still much more important. And this is then studied, quantified in something which you call BRCA testing, BRCA1 and BRCA2 testings, which I will talk to you later about. So what do we have for prevention of this disease? So the most and easiest thing is breast self-examination. The second is screening, and the third is examination by a doctor and some investigations. So the primary defense available to us is screening. So every lady should be taught breast self-examination. There are enough videos on the net today on how to do breast self-examination. It should be done normally on the 8th or 9th day after the first day of the period, so that you keep the day the same. So the texture or the feel of the breast remains the same nearly all the time. One should palpate with the flat of the hand and not with the thumb and the forefinger, because that will make every breast feel like a lump. This should be done by every lady after, say, about 30 years of age, and as I said, it is something which can be done at home during a bath, so that the breast is softened after a bath, and one can easily move your fingers over the breast and do a good self-examination. The second role is the role of screening. So the screening has shown in India that ladies above 55 years of age, there is impact in the screening, but the ladies below 55, there is no great impact in screening, shown by a new trial which has come from India. So once we look at all these pictures, so how does a breast cancer present? So it could present as a hardening of the breast, could present as an indentation, skin erosion, redness, nipple discharge, a lump that you can feel, difference in the size of the breast. Now this is a very common complaint which we see. A lady comes to us and says that my breast size has suddenly changed, and that could be an indication that she could be harboring some problem. Not necessarily breast cancer, could be even a benign breast lump, but there is something which needs to be investigated. As I said, this asymmetry is a very, very important cause, and you could have an orange peel or peau d'orange appearance, which means that it's a locally advanced breast cancer. Why is screening very important? If a lady examines her breast every month and does a screening every year as per the nomenclatures, one can detect a lump as small as a small pea. But if the lady has not examined her breast or not done regular examination, the earliest that you can detect a breast lump would be the size of a lime or a lemon, and which is already stage 2 or stage 3, which you have already sometimes lost the battle. So it is very, very important that one should undergo a good breast self-examination and also every year a screening examination. Now, who should do screening and when should you do screening? When should you do mammogram rather than screening? One should do a mammogram ideally in Indian women above 40, and that should be done every year. One should start at 40. If the mammogram is negative, one should do it every 2 years. But if there's a strong family history, or if there is somebody who has in the family who has developed cancer very early, then one should do it 5 years before the index case. So suppose one has a sister who's got it at 40, we should start doing a mammogram at 35. So mammogram, physical examination, as well as this should be the main things that we have got with our patients. Now, how do you do radiological investigation? So the common investigation is ultrasound of the breast, a digital mammography, digital tomosynthesis, which we already have in our hospital, or an MRI breast in younger patients because the breast is dense. What is new is basically tomosynthesis is something which will delineate the breast lump much easier. A dynamic MRI is sometimes done to enhance the breast lump, which might be very small and not be able to be caught up in standard imaging techniques. Sometimes we also do a PET scan. Now, PET scan is not indicated in early cancer. Please understand that. It is indicated in when the disease you feel has become slightly advanced, and these are the patients where you definitely need to do a PET scan to find out what the disease is and where it has spread or not. How do you do a pathology investigation? So initially one used to do something called a FNAC or a needle biopsy. Today you do something called a core needle biopsy, because the core needle will give you a very definitive diagnosis and be able to do more subtyping of the disease as per the requirements. People talk about something called a liquid biopsy. Now, a liquid biopsy will not diagnose early cancer. Only if the disease is advanced does a liquid biopsy diagnose. That when we talk about liquid biopsy, we mean that disease, a biopsy taken from the blood, a blood sample to detect blood cancer. So as of now, there are no tests which will detect breast cancer, early breast cancer from the blood. It's only when it is advanced that you may be able to do some test to detect it. What happens to lesions which are seen on a mammogram and not palpable? What we do is then we take these patients into the mammogram unit, pinpoint where the disease with the help of wires, go down to the theater, take those things out, send it for frozen section. If that is negative, obviously everybody is happy and they go home. If it is positive, then we proceed with the regular surgery. So this is what is done for non-palpable lesions. Also, lot of patients come to us saying that there's a bleeding from the nipple or there's a discharge from the nipple. So for this, there are two types of treatments. One is that we do a ductoscopy, like any other scopy. You put a scope in the duct to see whether there's any lesion there, take a biopsy from it, or if not, we just open that area and take out the biopsy. Now that you have diagnosed breast cancer, how do we stage it, or how do we go ahead with it? So you have early stage, which we say stage 1 or stage 2, which is early breast cancer, where the disease has not spread, only spread locally. You do standard tests to evaluate the patient. You do a mammogram, you do an X-ray chest, you do an ultrasound of the abdomen, and then take the patient up for surgery. Obviously, the patient has been already diagnosed with breast cancer. If the disease is locally advanced, then one should do either a PET scan or a CT scan of the thorax and CT scan of the abdomen to rule out disease somewhere else. And obviously, it's a metastatic disease. The investigation of choice is always going to be a PET scan. Having done all the diagnosis, how do we now treat the patient? So the commonest surgery previously used to be removal of the breast, which is known as the modified radical mastectomy. Today, however, we don't do modified radical mastectomy in all the patients. What is modified radical mastectomy? You remove the entire breast and remove the nodes in the axilla, that is in the on the side of the arm. But today we have defined and made surgery of the breast more conservative. Why more conservative? So that we can add more function and cosmesis to the breast surgery. So we do something called breast conserving surgery. We also do breast conserving surgery with reconstruction and total mastectomy with reconstruction. Along with this, we do either a total axillary dissection, or we do in recent advances, we do something called sentinel node biopsy to take out a few nodes, see if they are positive, and based on that we go ahead with it. Now, how safe, people ask, is conservative mastectomy as compared to total mastectomy? So all the data shows very, very clearly that conservative mastectomy with radiotherapy is equivalent to total mastectomy. But there are several contraindications. One should not do it in multicentric, that if the disease spread all over the breast, should not do it. One should not do it in pregnancy. One should not do it in inflammatory cancer of the breast. One should not do it with extensive DCIS. That's a pre-malignant condition of the breast. One should not do it in that. And if there is an inadequate breast to tumor ratio, that means if the breast lump is large and the breast size is small, if you just want to do a conservative mastectomy, it is going to give a very odd shaped breast, and which is not going to be the correct way to go about treating these things. So either we do a modified radical mastectomy or we do total mastectomy. Or we do a breast conserving surgery. In breast conserving surgery also there is something called oncoplasty. Now what is oncoplasty? Oncoplasty is doing a cosmetic reconstruction of the breast while doing an oncologic excision of the breast. That means I have to take out the disease totally, but respecting principles in such a way that the breast tissue remains cosmetically viable and cosmetically appealing to the patient. So you have type 1, type 2 and type 3 oncoplasties, where you have tissues which are brought locally or from the sides to do that, and that's what is today shown, that oncoplasty per se has oncologically, that means on the basis of cancer, the results are the same, the survivals are the same. So when we talk about breast reconstruction, like a type of oncoplasties, why should we reconstruct? We feel that every woman should be given a chance of breast reconstruction, because there is not a single woman at any age, at any socio-economic status, who does not want her breast to look normal. It's a sign of her femininity. So if we can do that while doing a proper oncologic surgery, obviously the patient will definitely benefit, not only physically but also psychologically, and that's a very important thing. And this was a lot of studies have been done in India as well as in the West, and even in India they have shown that if you give this option to a woman, that would you like to save your breast, there is not a single woman who will say that I will not like to save my breast, if it is possible. Okay, so there are various types of breast reconstructive techniques. As I said, one is trying to get an LD flap with implants, or doing a mastectomy with tram flaps or DI flap, which are microvascular flaps. For PCTs also, we do something called volume displacement and volume replacement surgeries. Now these are very technical terms, but basically all of them are meant to show you that one can do a proper job of removing the breast cancer as well as giving a normal feel in her normal clothes to the woman, which will make the woman feel absolutely normal. It is extremely safe. There are enough studies to show that there has been no chance of increased recurrences. In fact, with oncoplastic breast surgery, you tend to take out more than what is required, because you're going to do a plastic surgery reconstruction anyway. It doesn't make this difference how less you want to take it out. So indication of breast conserving surgery for anything more than 20% of the breast volume is on above is an indication, and I have already talked about the contraindications to that. Let's now come to the next part. Does it give an advantage? One has shown that if you do breast reconstructions, the lymphedema formation, that the swelling in the arm, is lesser because you get new tissue into that place. There have been studies which have shown that the survivals have improved. And why the survivals improve? Because we feel that this increases the positiveness in the patient's mind, and that's why we have seen that survivals will improve. And there are studies which have shown more than 50,000 patients data have shown that there is a definite survival. Should we do an opposite mastectomy? Now there are few patients who have got BRCA positives, who have got a high family history. These are the patients where one should advise contralateral prophylactic mastectomy. Even if there is no disease, one can, in selected patients, advise that both the breasts be removed. One, the diseased breast, and two, the breast which has not been diseased but yet could harbor or could get disease in the future. This is possible because we have got today different techniques of reconstruction, and yet we can give, after removing all this, also give the woman a normal looking breast, as was commonly seen by the actress Angelina Jolie. After doing surgery, what is the role of chemotherapy? So there are two parts of the story. One is neoadjuvant chemotherapy. Neoadjuvant chemotherapy is given in early breast cancer in patients whose disease you want to conserve the breast. Two, who have got some variation called triple negative breast cancer, where you give chemotherapy first followed by surgery. Or the second part is when you do the surgery in some patients and then give chemotherapy. So chemotherapy is given in most patients except for disease which is DCIS, 2 with disease with no nodes, or 3 with the size of the tumor is less than 0.5 centimeters in younger patients. These are the patients who will not receive chemotherapy. Others, most of them would definitely receive chemotherapy. What about radiotherapy? So radiotherapy is given to patients whose tumor size is more, or you have conserved the breast, or the axillary nodes are matted or they are fixed to each other. These are patients where we will go into radiotherapy. There is also a type of chemotherapy which is called targeted therapy, which is a test which we do. Normally we do ER, PR and HER2 new tests. So the ER, PR is estrogen and progesterone. These are hormone therapy drugs which are given, which is given for between 5 to 10 years. And targeted therapy, which is trastuzumab, which is today, or pertuzumab, which is done after you do a particular test called the HER2 new test. And if that is positive, women who have this test positive will benefit definitely by these drugs. Now, when we talk about giving chemotherapy, one normally used to give chemotherapy to the arm, and that is always given on the opposite side of the breast cancer surgery. Today, we encourage every patient to have a chemo port. Now, what is a chemo port? We put a small button on the chest wall where it is below the skin, and the chemotherapy is given into that button, and that through that button there is a wire, there's a tube which goes into the big blood vessels. So the chemotherapy goes directly there. So the arms are saved, and there is no edema or the swelling on the arm, and there is no chance of the drug coming out of the small blood vessels in the arm. What is new in the radiation oncology also, we say that today, because of COVID also, this has come up. We call it an accelerated partial breast irradiation. So if radiation was given for about 1.5 months, today there is a fast track irradiation which is given for 1 week, and that is equivalent to the main therapy also. As I said about endocrine therapy, there are two types of endocrine therapies. One is estrogen receptor blockers or selective estrogen receptor modulators, ACRMs, which is commonly called tamoxifen, which is given for premenopausal women and also in some postmenopausal women, or aromatase inhibitors like letrozole or anastrozole, which is given to patients who are postmenopausal and are positive for ER/PR therapies. What is new in endocrine therapy is ovarian ablation or ovarian suppression using different types of drugs. As I said, a little talk about BRCA1 and BRCA2 testing. There is something called also PALB2 testing, where you give different drugs. Now BRCA1 BRCA2 testing is something new, but now is not something very, very new, but now has come into the standard things for triple negative breast cancers, for patients with stronger family history, patients who are younger. In all these patients we do BRCA testing, so that if required, these patients can be changed, their therapy can be changed, or they can be advised different types of treatment. There are the tests which are done for early breast cancers, where we feel that they either whether we should take chemotherapy or not, when we are in doubt. So there are tests now which are available called Oncotype DX or CanAssist, which can predict the incidence of breast cancer coming back again, and this can be used, but these are expensive and not to be advised for every patient. Now when you talk about Angelina Jolie, she had BRCA1 BRCA2 positive, and she underwent bilateral mastectomy and oophorectomy. Why did she do that? Because of a strong family history. But that, please understand, when we talk about BRCA1 and BRCA2, when we talk about 85% cumulative risk, it is the cumulative risk at the age of 70. It is not a 85% risk for every lady at every point of time. Only 3 to 5% of breast cancer patients will have BRCA1, BRCA2 positive, and only 10 to 15% of ovarian cancers will have BRCA positives. So our advice to them is if they are BRCA positives and you have a strong family history, complete your family fast and then possibly go in for an oophorectomy and keep under good surveillance. Now, when we talk about all this, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions about breast cancer. The commonest one is, does wearing underwired bras or nylon bras cause breast cancer? No, it does not cause breast cancer. Obesity, yes, obesity we know is a factor which I have already alluded to and said that because of obesity you have estrogen levels which are increased and hence can cause breast cancer. So, reiterating whatever I have said, there are factors which cannot be changed. What cannot be changed? Your age cannot be changed, your family personal history cannot be changed, your race cannot be changed. So there are certain races which the breast cancer risk is higher. Radiation cannot change. Genetic factors cannot be changed. Menstrual history or reproductive history. These are endogenous estrogen levels. But what can be changed is obesity, not having children. Breastfeeding is protective, always. No alcohol, no hormone replacement therapy, and plenty of exercise. So reduce obesity can be beneficial to our patients. And how much does this save? If you do all these things, more than a third, 38% of breast cancers can be prevented if you have a healthy life, stay healthy, move, do not drink alcohol, and breastfeed your babies and have children at a proper age. As I said, when we talked about myths and facts, one of the myths is regular mammograms prevents breast cancer. Regular mammogram only detects breast cancer. Bras cause cancer is a myth. As I said, there is no difference in risk between women who wore bras, whether they are nylon or cotton or whatever. One of the myths is there is nothing you can do to lower the risk of developing breast cancer. No, but 90% of breast cancer are largely due to lifestyle and environmental factors, and if you modify these factors, I am sure you'll be able to lower the risk. Most breast cancer learned in the families is again another myth, but I only want to tell you that only 5 to 10% of breast cancers are thought to be hereditary, and hence rest of them are not hereditary, are just incidental breast cancers. Male breast cancer is another type which accounts for 1% of breast cancers. Again, presentation, treatment is exactly the same, and one has to remember that males also do get breast cancer, and one should not neglect that part of the story also. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, breast cancer is a heterogeneous disease. There is early detection which gives you higher cure rates. Screening is recommended. Treatment is surgery, chemo, radiation, targeted therapy, hormone therapy, and if you stay healthy, you will stay safe and you will prevent breast cancer to a large extent.
Dr. Savan would like to know what are the various reasons of having the breast cancers actually.
So in short, the commonest cause that we attribute breast cancer to is estrogen, whether it is endogenous estrogen or exogenous estrogen. What do I mean by endogenous? Endogenous is what happens is in the lady's body, and now that is dependent on her reproductive period. So if her period comes early, goes late, she is never married, or she is married late, or she has no children, or she has children late, are periods where the lady has uninterrupted cycles of her ovulations and multiple periods, and this increases the risk because the estrogen risk is increased. What about exogenous? So external factors like oral contraceptives, hormone replacement therapy, obesity which increases the level of estrogen in the body, alcohol which increases the level of estrogen in the body, lack of exercise which again leads to obesity which increases the level of estrogen in the body, which are exogenous causes. These are basically some of the causes which cause breast cancer.
And what are the earlier symptoms by which we can able to detect that I am suffering for the breast cancer?
So there are various signs which a patient would or a lady would come to us with. One is be with a lump in the breast, one is the difference in the size of the breast, nipple discharge, a swelling in the axilla or near the armpit, a hardening of the entire breast, a swelling looking like the peel of an orange in the breast, or a swelling in the neck also. These are commonly the signs which a lady would come to us complaining of breast cancer. Otherwise, it could be somebody who's screen detected. That means somebody who's undergone screening or done a mammogram regularly, and you find a small lump or a nodule in the breast which can be then investigated.
So Dr. Savan, you have been talking about that most of the causes of the breast cancer would be related to the lifestyle. Maybe the obesity, the food, what we are being eating, the alcohol could be one of the reason. So apart from the lifestyle, any other precautions which we need to take so that I can able to avoid the breast cancer?
So as I said, breast cancer sometimes can be called a preventable disease, because if you avoid obesity, if you avoid processed foods, if you avoid if you have your children at the correct age and not at a later age, if you breastfeed and do yoga or exercises, obviously your risk of getting breast cancer definitely reduces as much as to any other lady.
So is there any ideal age of the motherhood with the perspective to the breast cancer?
So let me put it this way. Earlier, 2 generations back, our grandparents, grandmothers or somebody used to get their periods at maybe 14, 15, get married at 15, 16, have the first children at 17, 18. Today, periods are coming at 10, 12. Young girls are getting married at about 25, 27 and having the first babies at 30, 32. That obviously is increasing the risk of getting breast cancer. So there is no ideal age, but one should definitely not delay becoming a mother just for the sake of career. One should balance both these things properly.
Can a mother able to breastfeed her child if she is being detected with the breast cancer?
So if somebody is under treatment or having detected with breast cancer, obviously that breast you cannot breastfeed. Opposite breast, if she has just been detected, you can do breastfeeding, but please understand that breast cancer during pregnancy or lactation is a very, very aggressive cancer and needs to be treated very, very aggressively, and hence some other methods need to be done for it.
Okay. So the different diagnostic techniques which you have already been shared with us, Dr. Sawant, for the detection of the breast cancer. We have been talked a lot about the BRCA test. So can you able to let us know more about the BRCA test and how it will be, at what time we can able to go for that specific test for have the proper treatment to be happening?
So BRCA testing is BRCA1 and BRCA2, BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes which are tested. Now these are genes which are shown to be seen in familial breast cancers, and initially the tests were very expensive. Today is about 25,000 to do BRCA1, BRCA2 together. Who should do it? Not every lady should do it. Somebody who's got breast cancer at an early age, somebody who's got a triple negative breast cancer, somebody who's got a strong family history should definitely undergo a BRCA testing, because not only breast, but it can also detect ovarian cancer.
Okay. And what is the latest technique or best technique which we can able to use for the treatment for the breast cancer?
So there are several latest techniques which are there. There's techniques in surgery, techniques in chemotherapy, techniques in radiotherapy. Techniques in surgery is that we are today doing breast conserving surgery. Today we are doing oncoplasty for the breast. Today we are doing breast reconstructions. Today we are doing sentinel node lymph node biopsies. We are reverse axillary mapping. So a lot of new things in surgery which has happened. In chemotherapy, drugs have changed. We have more specific targeted drugs which work better, have lesser side effects. We use chemo ports to give these drugs so that the drug doesn't, there is no swelling in the arm. As far as radiotherapy is concerned, there are newer techniques which has shortened the period of radiotherapy, and you can, instead of 1.5 months, you can give the radiotherapy in 1 week itself. So a lot have changed in therapy in breast. Slowly, steadily, it is becoming more safer, more specific, more accurate.
Okay, and what would be the success rate nowadays for these techniques?
So in stage 1 breast cancer, we normally talk about a 85 to 90% success rate. But if it's a stage 4 breast cancer, we talk about a 10 to 15% success rate. So it really varies. But today, as I said, initially we used to see patients with very advanced breast cancers. Today we are seeing patients with early breast cancer. So that's a very encouraging thing to happen.
And Dr. Savan, is there any probability of having the reoccurrence of the breast cancer once it has been treated?
Yes, so obviously when I talk about 85% not getting breast cancer, 15% will get breast cancer, and 15% not getting breast cancer, which means 85% will get breast cancer. So the treatment that we do apart from surgery, that is chemotherapy or radiotherapy, is to prevent the recurrence. Obviously when we treat these patients, we remove all visible disease, but for the invisible disease we need to do some sort of treatment, and that is usually chemotherapy or radiotherapy.
So what are the side effects of having the chemotherapy?
So if you look at side effects, there are side effects of surgery. Side effects of surgery are basically there is disfigurement, which is now controlled by doing oncoplasty or breast reconstruction. Side effects of chemotherapy is loss of hair. But let me remind everybody that every woman will get all her hair back. There is not a single woman that I have seen in all my years of treating breast cancer that she has not got a hair back. So side effects is that you get a slight swelling or heaviness in the body, maybe hair loss which is temporary, but all this comes back to normal, and patients, you will not be able to recognize women who have been treated 5 years prior for breast cancer are leading normal lives, becoming mothers, leading normal careers, whatever they are in.
Okay. So Dr. Savan, can you able to give us some insight, because people do have the misconception that if they have to go for the reconstructive surgery after the treatment of breast cancer, whether they have to go to the oncosurgeon or go to the cosmetic surgeon for doing the plastic surgery for that. So what exactly is the difference between oncoplasty and the plastic surgery, or are they same?
So oncoplasty is basic plastic surgery for the breast, which is a cosmetic surgery. But what is very, very important, that it has to be done by an oncosurgeon and not by a plastic surgeon, because the oncosurgeon, like what I do is I am very radical in removing the disease, but yet when I remove it, I see to it that I reconstruct the breast back to look as normal as possible, and that is what oncoplasty is all about.
Okay, is there any side effect of oncoplasty?
So there are no side effects, and the survivals in oncoplasty, whether you do oncoplasty or don't do oncoplasty, are the same. In fact, if you do reconstruction of the breast, the survivals are supposed to be better, because the wellness quotient of the patient increases and the patient feels more normal and feels whole and being feminine all throughout.
And what should be the appropriate time gap once the surgery is being happen for the breast cancer? After how much time we can able to go for the reconstructive surgery?
So we always counsel our patients to do reconstructive surgery at the same time as the breast surgery. Delayed reconstruction does not give the same result. Primary reconstruction is the way to go, where the tissues are the same, the tissues are pliable, and one can reconstruct almost normal breasts with doing primary reconstructive surgery.
Okay, and how long will be the hospital stay if we are undergoing the surgery as well as the reconstructive surgery at the same time?
So most of our patients are discharged if there is just a primary breast surgery or oncoplasty on the second day, and if I do a major reconstruction probably on the 4th or 5th day. So the study stays are not too long.
And how is the life of the patient after she undergone the surgery? Means that is normal, or how long will it going to take to have a normal life after the surgery?
So normally one has to understand that after surgery, if the patient is going to take chemotherapy, that takes about 6 months. Radiotherapy takes about 1.5 months after that. So you have to give yourself 1 year for a full recovery. Once that recovery is done, you will be absolutely normal, be able to do everything that you are doing in your personal and your professional life.
Okay, and any specific precaution we have to take after the treatment to be happen?
So one of the most important thing is that one has to keep on showing the doctor. Once the disease has been removed and you have been fully treated, does not mean that you are cured and there will be no disease coming back. The reason why we need follow-ups, and these follow-ups are done initially 3 monthly, then the 6 monthly, then yearly, with various techniques, sometimes with a mammogram, sometimes with a sonomammogram, ultrasound of the abdomen and pelvis, sometimes even a PET scan. So these are various things which are done along with a clinical examination. That means you have to see your doctor every now and then as he or she prescribes to go and see that there is no recurrence of disease.